Hello, sports fans. It's Tuesday, November 12th. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports. So hey peoples, I know I released the MLB Hot Stove episode on Friday, and I know I'd said I'd only do weekly going forward, but I had to launch the last and latest team I want to follow on this pod, my first alma mater, the Duke Blue Devils, and their basketball program. I had to launch this now because the first biggish game of the year is Tuesday night, taking on a new-look Kentucky Wildcat team in Atlanta as part of the Champions Classic. I've probably mentioned it before, but I have a lovable group of pals from my time at Duke. We met as a bunch of pimple-faced, skinny, hairless-chested nerds whose eyes got equally wide at aristocrat vodka from the ABC liquor store or a case of Busch Light from the Kroger's. Now, we're a bunch of gray-bearded, chubby, hairless-headed nerds still, whose eyes also still get wide at a case of Busch Light, maybe not the aristocrat. We play fantasy football, as you know. We're also diehards for Duke hoops. So for you, my listeners, I invited 3 of my fellow sloth bears, yes, we have a mascot, to preview the upcoming Duke season. We reminisce about past joys and despair, being a Duke fan. We dive into key storylines and players to watch for this season. And we leave you with a prediction. You'll learn about Chubby Redick, as well as the transfer from New Orleans that will clean up at the local mechanical bull bar. And just generally hear us be cocky, but hopefully lovable Duke fans, who make you a little smarter while also dumber for having listened. All right, I'm going to throw it to myself. Go Duke and enjoy. Cleaters, welcome to the 2024-2025 official Cleats by Dre Duke basketball preview. I can hear the boos, that's fine. Hate us because you ain't us. We got our gold national championship hats on from 2015. And I got some of my fellow alumnus gathered here from coast to coast to shake off the cobwebs and get ready for the season. So first, we have Rob, hailing from some nice suburb in Western Mass. Rob was known in the pickup gyms of Brody, banging down low for rebounds. He's slimmed down now a bit. Welcome, Rob. How you doing?
Doing great. Looking forward to the preview. Thanks, Dre.
Then we have James, somewhere in or near Nashville. James, for the listeners, resembles a cross between Travis Diener, Marquette legend, and the drummer from the movie That Thing You Do. But he also will say he has the best jump shot on the panel. I'll say that. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. The fact that you compared me to Travis Diener probably made my year. So that was amazing.
We're all about
Before we get into this,
all about ego boost here. Except for Amin here, and last, also near last in fantasy football this year, along with me. I'll be fair. Is Amin the newlywed coming to us from SoCal? Amin in pickup. He had a jump shot that tried real hard. But I will say for his credit, he could sell any call possible and usually always found himself on the best teams, the winning teams. How are you doing, bud? Welcome, Amin.
I styled my play with aggressive and dirty tactics, so I'm good.
Dirty, sweaty, all the good stuff. But here we are, boys. Thank you for joining us. The season is upon us. College basketball is here. Before we get into all the different components as to the players, the storylines, yada, yada, let's do some intros first. I want to hear a little bit about, and listeners want to hear a little bit about how far back you go with Duke basketball. We were all classmates. So my first question, we'll do round robin, kind of first, best, and worst, right? What's your first experience with Duke basketball? When has Duke brought you the most joy, and when has it brought you the most despair? Amin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think my first memory was not even as a fan. Was it with Jay Williams when they losing to Indiana in the tournament by 4? He gets fouled, makes the 3, just walks up, didn't take a second, and like brick that free throw. And again, I wasn't a Duke fan at all, and I was just like, man, these guys are losers. Um, and even when I attended, like, wasn't a Duke basketball fan until just the hype machine started. I'd say like first memory. What was our the marketplace where we had to eat freshman year, and like Coach K is introducing like the most heralded recruiting class of all time, and I had like no idea who these guys were. And I remember even having less respect for the sport and for Duke because they roll out nerds like Redick and Shavlik and Pod Zeus and this, ended up being brilliant but awkward looking human in Sheldon Williams. So those were some of my first forays.
You were sold. You were in love forever.
Yeah, and then to wrap it, I quickly became a huge fan where I would follow high school recruiting trends and whatnot. And lowest point was 2004 Final Four. We're all in Cameron. Mm-hmm. We're like up by 8 against UConn, and I think all of our good guys fouled out. So it wasn't Zubac, but the other giant guy with the concrete feet was in there, and they just got torched. So I'd say that was Horvath. Yeah, there you go.
Got it. What? So I'm actually curious. For quick follow up before we go to James and Rob, where does Duke basketball rank on your your teams list? Right. I know you're Lakers. I know you're Niners. Where does Duke basketball rank?
It's one.
I had a feeling, and I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, James or Rob, you would say that. I'm curious what you guys would say, but I felt it in some of the wedding speeches that you're loud about it, but I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, not as loud with like the frequency throughout the season, but come March, loud as ever.
Good shit. All right, James, same questions. First, best, and worst.
Probably. I started paying most attention to Duke in high school. The Jay Will years, Dunleavy, Boozer, those guys, just kind of coinciding with high school basketball, that being a big part of my life. And then my best friend, actually, his parents were Duke alums, so a lot of times we'd be like at his house like before or after practice, like watching Duke. And so that was kind of my first discovery and kind of love. And I still remember like watching Dunleavy toast Arizona in the championship. I also remember Jay Will, who was so amazing, but also weirdly bad at free throws, despite being good at free throws, which never made sense. Never made sense to me. Joy, let's see, the highest point was probably 2009, just the championship, just because that was so unexpected and sweet, which is unusual to be when you're a Duke fan, because we're typically the favorite with high expectations. So the pain of losing is a lot worse. But that was
Scheyer expectation. That was old man Scheyer year.
Yeah. It was Scheyer, Nolan Smith, Singler, the Pump Fake King, and Zubek. Lance Thomas. That's right. That was the Pump Fake King. And despair, probably senior year. I mean, it could have been that UConn Final Four sophomore year, but senior year losing to LSU. The year we had with Redick and Sheldon.
That's a good one.
I mean, in retrospect, that team was kind of not great. It was just those two guys and a lot of garbage, but they were so good. But the margin was I think a lot thinner than we appreciated at the time, and so that was just hard. Just seeing the guy of our class kind of like go without getting a championship. That was just tough.
Yeah. Where does Duke hoops rank for you? Your teams?
Oh, definitely still number one, but I'm not like a crazy, like I don't really have like a pro team that I'm like hardcore for, or really like a college like football powerhouse, even being from the South and stuff. I'm a little bit of an orphan there. So by far Duke, and there's a chasm between that and any other team I root for.
Got it. All right. Rob, same questions to you. First, best, and worst.
So first, I actually remember back to the early 90s, the back-to-back championship years with Hurley and Leitner and Grant Hill. I had older brothers and a dad that were all sports obsessed and NCAA tournament obsessed. So I was filling up brackets when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I I dabbled around with like the Bill Curley BC team that beat UNC in the tournament, and really like Penny Hardaway's Memphis team that made a run. But then by high school, the same team those guys were mentioning, Jay Will and Boozer and Dunleavy and all them, I was obsessed with them. I had called my high school teammates Dunleavy and Boozer actually. And by the time I was in high school, my brother was at Duke, so full on obsession by then.
Yeah.
So most joy, I would actually say the 2001 championship team.
Yeah.
It was just like the peak of my college basketball fandom was in high school, I'd say. Watch every second of the tournament, watch every big game, and just really love that team. Most despair was definitely 2004. It's gotten enough coverage here, but that was our best chance to win while we were undergrads. And I can't imagine the party that would have ensued. So,
Yeah.
and crazy enough, was also there with Amin in New Orleans for Coach K's last game, and had to see a loss to Carolina there in the national semifinal. So I guess I'll give that some airtime too, as another really bad moment.
Which was compounded by your Spirit Airlines being canceled mid-game.
Now that, all right, that's the biggest despair. Now that you mentioned that.
Oh my God. Adding insult to injury. And Rob, your Boston teams, like where does Duke fit?
Duke's number one, but it's a lot more of a bunch than James described. But I would say Duke's number one.
I got the right panel here. I can't put Duke one. I mean, maybe I'm just recency biased with the Mets and the Knicks, but it's I got the right panel. I'll just say that.
You have recency bias with the Knicks?
They're good. They're good now. They're like it's the excitement, watching the games. But yeah, they haven't pulled anything yet. My quick first, best, worst. I go with Leitner too. I mean that, and really the Kentucky shot.
Yeah.
That was on in like my aunt and uncle's house, and I just remember like us. It was a crazy kind of Saturday. I remember that. And for joy and despair, I go a little different than you guys. I could have went to titles, but I'm thinking in person also. I'm thinking like junior year in Cameron when we beat UNC, the UNC team that actually won the title that year. Like something about being in person. And the other one, a random one in Barclays in Brooklyn for the ACC semifinals versus UNC in 2017. Something about being in like the neutral site or the road games when like, and again, UNC won the title that year too. So maybe that's just something about being in person stands out. And for me, despair, I can't think of, I mean, yeah, those final four losses, sure. But I go to Mercer and Lehigh. Like at the worst for me is when we're losing in the first round. The flood of text messages are coming in from people like, making fun. Like that's the flip side of having a team that's been as good as Duke, I think. So quick question that a follow-up is what effect did and maybe Rob, because you were already a Duke fan, did being a Duke fan have in your decision to enroll at Duke and go to Duke?
So I was deciding between Duke and Georgetown, and didn't really have any reason except for basketball to choose Duke. So I guess it made all the difference, but I would have gone somewhere else if it was the right place for me. But yeah, it was a tiebreaker. So
James, did it have any effect on your decision?
Definitely basketball. I mean, you guys know I loved basketball, so like that was a big part of my life in high school, and it was between Duke and Vandy. My best friend was going to Vandy, and I've thought hard about it, but just Duke, it just seemed like too cool an experience and opportunity. And I think the fact that it was a little further from home was good for me, and I had some appeal to it too. But yeah, the basketball was definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, because I think for me, it's like it was a macro thing. Like I was very aware of the school because of basketball, probably. Like I applied mostly to Northeast schools besides Duke. I didn't apply to like Emory or other good schools in the South. So the ultimate marketing vehicle. All right, let's transition to some not quite getting into the season yet, but even some macro type topics about college basketball. And James, I want to start with you first on this one. How have I'm priming this because we talked about a little bit about this at Amin's wedding a couple weekends ago. How have your game watching, team following habits changed with college basketball? Like, do you watch as much as you used to, or not? What's
I
your latest? Yeah, what's your habits
I
lately?
definitely don't watch it as closely as I once did. Right at for a long time I was a nutcase. I followed the team intensely. I was that person that probably wasn't that much fun to watch games with because I took it so intensely. I think winning the 2009 championship was a good inflection point for my sanity because I was just like, this team is not that good. There's no way we're going to win it. And the fact that they won it kind of was, oh man, I need to like relax a bit because the March Madness is just kind of weird. And I just need to be like, okay with that. And then, as Kay embraced the one and dones, it was a bit harder to get attached because it felt like all of our fortunes were attached to how good the freshmen were, and they were gone so quick. It was just hard to like really get attached to these guys. It's like, yeah, they're dookies, but they're dookies for like 4 months. And then as NIL is kind of kicked in, turnover between like one and dones and transfers is just kind of nuts. And maybe it's also just me being a bit of an old man, but I think it's fun seeing a player who goes from like a freshman to an upperclassman and develops, and it makes kind of the successes and failures feel more shared, and you care about them more rather than someone who's just kind of a mercenary for hire. So
Yeah.
yeah, my viewership, I mean, I still enjoy the sport, but as far as how carefully I watch it, how carefully I like follow the off-season recruiting and stuff, it's definitely declined with time.
Yeah. What about you, Rob? Anything you'd add?
I find it doesn't hurt my fandom in terms of following Duke because I'm following like Amin, all the recruits. I'm sending texts every time we sign a 5-star, all that stuff. And I'm really intense into the Duke team, so I can kind of get into the team quickly. But I used to, like, going back to high school, as I mentioned, I'd watch like all the big games, any ranked, unranked opponents. I'd watch Big East games, ACC games, etc. Now I can't even follow who's on the other teams. Like it hasn't affected my Duke fandom, and how closely I follow them, but on the macro, and there's so much more going on in my life and in other sports and all sorts of different things. But NIL and the transfers made it really hard to follow any teams but Duke.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, even with Duke for me, I've had trouble each like fall. It's like relearning the players. Maybe I'm not as into the recruiting or like recruiting and knowing what a high school player did only counts so much till they step on the court. And I loved college basketball in the 90s. Loved
Yeah.
it. I loved the Big East. The Ray Allen, Allen Iverson, Kerry Kittles, like those teams, like and guys stayed. Like Ray Allen stayed 4 years. Like these guys, Tim Duncan, yeah, I like ACC too. I just think it's tough to like as a fan to relearn these players every year. So it's tough. And so typically like, I get in the swing of things with the ACC season, but I'll talk about it when we look at the schedule. Like the ACC has been so hard to follow the last few years. There's not as many good, strong teams. So,
Andre, it
yeah,
just occurred to me there's another piece to this. We're also all 40 plus now, and dads,
I made a
our
note of that
name
too.
recall,
Go ahead.
our name recall, I don't know about you guys, I can't recall anyone's names anymore. And so you add in the fact that the names change so much every year for every team, it's a problem.
And I,
It's
I
a
was gonna
problem.
go not even with name recall. You're right, but also just time, right? We're chasing around kids. Like we don't necessarily always have time, to watch every game or to follow everything. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm worrying about learning the girls on the Freedom first grade soccer team that I'm coaching. So
Yeah.
those are the names I'm worried about. It's a good call, James.
Yeah, you got a good system for that team?
No, not at all. Let's get out there and have some
Un
fun.
Unorganized
I,
chaos.
I I would be pro like everyone just having a name tag at all times, like in life. Like
In
that was
life,
just
just
like an
yeah, okay.
acceptable.
A
Yeah, yeah.
brand.
We
Maybe
all
everyone
wear
should just
name
be
tags.
branded on their forehead, their names. Scarlet letter. Quick other macro topic is just with NIL, right, and unlimited transfers. Do we think, now that it's been like this a couple of years now, is this going to be a benefit for Duke, we think, right? In terms of now you can actually pay players above the table, and also you can just take anyone from any team without them having to sit out a year. Rob, what do you think about that?
I can't see how it's going to be a problem for Duke. So everyone can pay the same, so that's equal. But with NIL, Duke's got resources up the wazoo, and has the brand recognition. So guys like Jared McCain can, boost their Instagram or whatever social media platforms he's on. So I think it will be helpful. It's just, I think anyone's going to have a hard time having sustained success because there's just no continuity, and you get certain kids that are ranked number one in their class that are in it for the right reasons, and we'll get to Cooper Flagg later. Then you get other guys that are the top rated recruit, and it's just pit stop on their way to the NBA draft, and they're not really paying attention or really caring about the team's success. So I think it's going to be hard for everyone, or continue to be hard for everyone. But I think the NIL and transfers can only help Duke. It's a popular place to be.
So not even we've been pretty successful, but so you think it'll even make us more successful theoretically?
Or level to where we've been.
Sustained where we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take another bite of that apple, James?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add it as a side hot take. When you get like mad at your Uber delivery driver because they're like circling a block, they can't find your address, and you're just fucking fuming. And then they drive up, they're just like the most pleasant people ever, and to put on like immediate nice face. That was my last 5 minutes. I was like, oh, no problem, man, you're great. No, I think with NIL, like, what was that run Miami made a few years ago to the Final Four? And it was like NIL opened up. They had that billionaire donor, and they just went and bought these 3 studs and were able to do really well. I think it only helps Duke, to Rob's point. I think teams that are like blue chip, and it might not help them as much as like, well, I'll say Kansas, who is number one. But before NIL, like Bill Self, I mean, it's no secret. The guy's a cheater. He pays more than other players do. And he straight up said he had to do it to keep up with the Roy Williams and the Coach K's that didn't have to do it at the time. So
is Self on, because we might have some KU listeners. Is Self on record before NIL saying that he's paying players?
I think he said he had to do some things to like remain competitive with the teams or maybe the top tier of the blue chips. So the last thing, I bet it's why Coach K was ancient, but like he had some time left. That's probably why he was out, like it's just a whole new way of running. He's like, I don't want to deal with this. And bring in John Scheyer, who hired the first general manager in college sports, like kind of nuts.
Yeah. I mean, also like Jay Wright retired around the same time, Roy Will, like these guys are, I don't want to deal with it. But my thing is, I think the NIL doesn't make as much of a difference for Duke. Like we are always getting the top recruits, like for college, high school recruiting. But the thing for me, the transfer portal and removing that year sitting out, theoretically, we can now pick whichever talent we want, right? The best proven talent that we've seen play. Scheyer did that this year. He didn't do it the year before. So you capitalize on that. But
who did he get this year? It's like a role player, right?
A few.
Oh,
yeah. 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing, though, is he's getting role players and experienced guys, but hasn't been going for like the top rated player out there. Now maybe you wouldn't get the recruits, like the number 1 overall recruit's not going to come if you're pulling in, the best senior out there. But it's like Sion James, who is a good player at Tulane, defensive minded, can score a little bit, but he's going to be like a 15, 20 minute a game guy for us. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
I think Scheyer, and I think I've heard that he said this, is like he wants to build his team still like program guys. So but high school recruiting is where maybe he'll look for the stars, but then he'll plug holes year to year with the portal. Maybe that's what he'll do.
As far as competing coaches, because I love to hate on them, that would have absolutely done the worst in NIL. Was that year Grayson Allen when we won, and they beat that Indiana team that was up by like a good jillion, and Grayson Allen came in and did his magic. Didn't that coach retire after that year?
Indiana coach?
Maybe no, Wisconsin. He was Wisconsin.
Was it 2015?
Yeah.
Title. Yeah, Bo Ryan didn't last much more after that. I know that.
Yeah, he was angry. He was like, he was pissed. He was pissed at the one and done. He's like, we can't do it the right way anymore. And his right way was to get 4-year guys. It was like, okay, dude, this is over.
Yeah. Let's move. We'll keep it macro, but we'll move to the next topic because that could be its own episode about NIL and the portal and basketball. James, go to you first for this one. So, not even looking at this season, but program, right? Where our program stands, where do the Devils fit in the national picture these days? We haven't won a title in 9 years. Who else would be? I, I'm assuming we're in the top tier, a tier 1A. Curious if anyone disagrees with that, but who else is in that tier? Who else do we consider honor level, maybe above us a little bit, but no one too far below? James, you have a thought on that?
Yeah. So I went back and looked at the last couple of years, kind of end of season, top 25 and top 10 in particular. And it's funny, it kind of looked like a lot of things are the same as when we were in college. So like, Duke, UNC, Kansas, UConn are very clearly like the top, blue bloods. If you Villanova was obviously in their stretch, but that's kind of changed with their new coach. And then after that, you had some like new kids, and the new kids are a bunch of Southern schools, right? Houston, Baylor, Alabama, Tennessee have all had really consistent, really good teams the last 3-4 years. And then you kind of still have like Gonzaga, like I know out there too. Like I would say, like if you were to look at the last couple seasons, like it's largely those teams, a couple blue bloods, the mid major that's not really a mid major, and then these Southern schools that if you had told us when we were in college, hey, these are like top tier programs, we probably wouldn't have believed you because they all were pretty bad back then. And so in some ways, I think it's still the rich are still rich. And so it's not surprising. And yeah, I'd put us right in that same tier. I do think there is more volatility because we're dependent on the freshmen, right? If the freshmen are really good, it seems like we generally have a contender program. If the freshmen disappoint, then we take a step back. But that's still true for I think a lot of these top tier programs.
Anyone else want to take a bite?
Yeah, I keep it smaller. So I think it's Kansas, UNC, Kentucky, and UConn and Duke. Gonzaga's knocking on the door, but they haven't won a title, so we'll wait for that. But I think like actually Villanova is a good example. Jay Wright, they felt like they were top tier, but they can't sustain it coach to coach. I think to be a top tier program, you got to be able to survive. Like it's not just a one man show. So I think it's smaller, and I think Duke's still tier one. We're due for a championship though, so hopefully this year.
You think the players care as much anymore? Like now that the coaches that were at the Blue Bloods, I mean, I know Bill Self is still there, but like, it's like in football.
You think they care about like program prestige or something?
Yeah, exactly. They care about the program prestige as much.
Look, I think
they care about
Duke,
exposure.
Yeah, exposure for sure. And we know Duke with their social media presence and national TV presence. I think the brotherhood that's something in the tie to the NBA players has helped Duke. But what do you guys think?
I mean, there's still the like pipeline. The brotherhood is a good example. Like Malawak, like of course he's here because of Luol Deng. So it sustains itself over the years. I think.
Nailed that pronunciation, by the way.
No, thank you.
Practice.
Yeah.
So my thing is, it's interesting, James. You didn't mention Kentucky at all in your list.
So they haven't been that good
the
last couple of years since Cal didn't have a great last few years, so they haven't been as. I mean, obviously it's a blue blood program, but if you look at the top 25 from the last couple of years, I think they're in there like once or twice, but it's not. It hasn't been the last couple of years, which is why Cal is gone and why there's been turbulence there. So
yeah, and no one's mentioning UCLA right there. It's almost too long ago. But if we had to rank within the four, I mean, we have to tip our hats to UConn as much as we hate it, right? Six titles in the last 25 years.
With 3 different coaches. They've had a lot more lows than us. They just seem to they make it past the second round, they win the tourney.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, my notes on them are I hope all of their players get the flu in the first round of the NCAA and they lose by 100. So
nice. Nice. Planning pandemics.
I'm at.
Planning pandemics. Perfect. Let's just review. So now we go into the season, right? Quick recap of last season, if we had to, right? Where we left off. We left off as a 4 seed in the tournament We made the Elite Eight. We upset Houston, even though we got lucky, their best player getting injured in the game. Still made it to Elite Eight. We lost to NC State for the third time in the season, right? Didn't we? We lost in the regular season, then in the AC tourney, then in
Yep.
the Elite Eight. They had that big guy, DJ. Didn't they have a couple DJs? I don't know.
Yeah, that whole story.
I can
forgot
picture
about
the one guy that was twice the size of any of
Big
ours.
guy.
Yeah,
Fun. Tons of
he's-
fun. I was kind of rooting for them.
Yeah.
Not against us, but we never loved, I don't think any of us loved the Filipowski era, judging by our text messages. Team is always limited, right? In Scheyer's first 2 years, the team has been kind of limited, 4 seed both years. We're going to get into storylines. But first, just quick looking at the polls, where we are preseason polls, whatever you want to put weight into them. AP poll, we're 7th. They have Carolina 9th and no other ACC school in the top 25. 247 Sports has us 4th, Carolina 6th, no other ACC school in the top 25. ESPN has us 6th, Carolina 10th, no other ACC school in the top 25. Then I saw Analytics Composite. If you're into KenPom or Bart Torvik or Evan Miyakawa, we're second. We're second according to the quants, so that's something. All right, so off those preseason ratings, let's now talk about some storylines. We'll go around, everyone say one or two. The first one I'll give is just based on the schedule piece. Will the ACC be trash again? Because it's just no one's even, besides us and UNC, no one else is there. But let's go. My screen's Rob. You want to go first? What's a big storyline you're watching?
I think it's how good can the defense be. So I mentioned Sion, James, Tulane defender. I think he had like 2.5 steals a game last year. We've got Malawak down low, who could be an elite defender, but he's pretty raw. Cooper Flagg seems like he likes to play defense. Everyone is 6'6" or taller, I think, maybe 6'5" or taller. So a ton of length out there. So it's all new guys, all coming together, new team. So how quickly can they gel, and how good are they going to be defensively?
Yeah.
Did you guys count how many guys are over the height of 6'5" on our roster this year without looking at anything right now?
I looked at it. There's one walk-on who's below 6'5". Everyone else is above.
Yeah.
Is Caleb
It's
Foster
14.
is Foster 6'5"?
Yeah.
He and
14
Proctor
out of
listed.
15. 14
Yeah.
out of 15 are 6'5" or above on the ESPN website. Yeah, the only guy shorter is the walk-on, who's like 5'3".
Well, I mean, I love it, Rob. I mean, that was one of mine, right? Re-emphasis on defense, right? Those great Duke teams of the past always had defense. I looked back the last 10 years on KenPom. We've averaged 10th best offense in efficiency, 33rd best defense for the last 10 years. That's not a title winning formula. So
Yep.
and you guys are going with size, like Scheyer's best team 2010 team, Singler at small forward, right? Size. Zubek Thomas. Hopefully that works out.
Yep.
I'll go a different route. I think
What do you think?
storyline is, can the offense average 90 points? Can the offense be so over the top ridiculous? Because even when we have a good defense and like good offensive players, like when they lose, it's not because the defense gives out. And they've lost in tournaments because they can't put up 45 points.
Do you see? No, I think that's a good. I mean, do you see the talent, the offensive firepower on this team, though?
I mean, if Proctor can hold up, or step up, and then, there's all this hype on Flagg, who's going to be the first round pick, after his freshman year. But if he puts up like Chet Holmgren numbers, mid-teen double-doubles with a couple blocks and assists, like, yeah, amazing college player. No, he's going to be in the 20 to 15 range for his double-doubles and just be nasty. I that's what I'm waiting for. I know ESPN's waiting for it because after we beat Army by 50, they front page headline, Cooper Flagg leads the way. Like, come on, it's Army. Second game of the year. It doesn't matter. But I'm not worried about the defense. Ooh, I'm worried about that Stafford fumble.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
Big old fantasy matchups we're tracking. I would love 90 points a game. I don't know if I see the firepower there, but I'd love to be proven wrong.
I wonder. I have like a hypothesis. I'm not fully willing to commit to it yet, but we'll see after the next few tough games. I think we're going to maybe be better without Malak, or however you say his name, on the court. I think we
Rob,
only
wait,
need
Rob,
him.
how do we say it, Rob?
Malawak.
There you go.
Maluak. I think we're going to need him versus Kansas because they've got another ginormous dude. But I feel like this roster of all these like Swiss Army knife 6'5", 6'6", and up, and some of our guys of the transfers, they're like upperclassmen that are like they're not super tall, but they're pretty built. I kind of wonder if we can do a high pressure swarming style defense, and that Malak just gums things up.
Malawak is the kid who gave Team USA fits. You think we're going to be better without him?
He's
got it.
He's slow. He's slow. He's an okay shot blocker. He doesn't really seem to like do like lobs. Like offensively, it doesn't seem like he has much of a place at all. And I feel like he just gets in the way if you're trying to drive to the hole. I wonder with this particular group, we're athletic all over the place. We can shoot all over the place. I think that there's a chance that we might actually be better. We're still going to need him for certain matchups, but I wouldn't be surprised if this group is actually build a lot more leads with him off the court.
You might be right or wrong. I think one of the things that yet to be proven with Scheyer, like Coach K, what did he do like the last 5 or 10 years? Second half of the season, he would just do one dramatic change to the starting lineup, and like, oh, now we're really good. Like maybe James is predicting the Maluak Scheyer lineup change.
Who's going to play, James? Who's the best 5 then, if not Maluak?
I don't know if it's going to be like a traditional 5, like the Malik Brown guy.
You got to have 5 players on the court.
Yeah, I think
that's a rule.
Like I mean, like a traditional center. I'm thinking like it'll be like Malik Brown, or Sion James, right? They're both like built guys who are now like 21, 22, and can pressure and play a lot of positions and defend a lot of positions. So I think that I like those guys. I'm not convinced yet. We'll have to see how we are against better competition. Maybe that gets proven wrong. And we've been hitting all of our threes. It looks like all of us are amazing. All of the guys are amazing 3-point shooters right now. So if that kind of falls off, then the size starts becoming more needed. But I just look at this group and it's all these athletic guys. I felt like it was always someone different driving to the hole. And if someone was open, they could hit a 3. It didn't feel like we had anyone outside of Maluak who, really wasn't very useful on offense. And so, also that might help hit Amin's prediction if we think we can get to 90 points a game. It probably would require small ball.
Yeah. All right. Any other big storylines we haven't touched on? You guys see?
Dre, I was just wondering, do you have the technical capabilities to slice in some alley-oop dunks to disprove James' theory on Maluak?
Oh my God! I'm gonna open up a YouTube channel just for that, and I'll show some of the threes he hit against Team USA for Amin's sake.
I like it.
5 minutes he played.
That's it for me though.
I got so a couple more. So one is on Flagg in of himself, right? And I think there's some sub questions here. The way he's hyped. One, will he have the greatest Duke freshman season ever? And we're going up against Zion, Jabari, Bagley, Okafor. We could name guys, but the way he's hyped as a surefire number 1 pick, will that come through? And I think it is, based on what I've heard about him, the defense, right? In the first 2 games, he's already stacking up steals and blocks like crazy. He's going to be an accumulator there. But the second part is, will he be... Well, this is more a long-term one. Could he be Duke's greatest NBA player ever? Right now, Jason Tatum has a pretty strong, I think, claim to that. So that's a long-term question. But 3, I think more interesting, how hated will he be? Will he be the hated Duke white boy, the level of JJ, Grayson Allen that we've had? I don't know.
First of all, you're putting Tatum just immediately above Grant Hill is travesty.
Dude, Grant Hill peak for a couple of years. I don't know. I kind of tailed off. Rob, you're the Boston guy. Did you blink when I said that?
Not at all. He's just getting going, by the way. He's got a title. He's got, I think, 3 first team. How many first team All NBAs? I think 3. He's finishing in the top 5 in MVP voting every year. I mean, I'll look up some Grant Hill stats. I love Grant Hill, but I think like if Tatum blew out his knee tomorrow, and I need to knock on wood, then it might be a conversation. But Tatum's got a lot in front of him, including another title soon. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh man, need different side bet.
Do you guys think you think Flagg will be hated though around the country, like JJ was and Allen was?
I think for two reasons. No, one, he's seems kind of modest out there, and his like impact isn't JJ Redick impact in the style of like annoying dagger threes, and he looks like an average dude. I think the other reason he won't be hated is Chubby Redick is going to be hated. He can keep it up.
Talk to me about Chubby Redick. Let's bring the listeners in on Chubby Redick.
Chubby Redick, I admittedly didn't know much about him, and I just see him out there in early season games. Looks to be a little overweight, and the announcers just loved him. They're like, he's really been working out, spending time. His body is ready or something. I'm just like, he looks like a average chubby YMCA player that apparently has a great shot and overconfidence to drive the lane. So I love him. I think he's great.
Have we said his name yet?
Is it Connect? No, that's Coople.
That's your second favorite team.
Knipple.
Rob's our pronunciation expert here.
Knipple.
Knipple.
It should be nipple. Let's be real.
Just nipple? You think
Anytime
someone
you see
is a Cameron crazy? You're just gonna have a nipple for a mask in the stands?
KN, the K is silent. It should be nipple. Nipple.
Oh, like Krzyzewski, the K is silent.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, I think reports were saying he's been the best player in some of the pickup games. Knipple, even over Flagg, but the last other storyline I had was just on Scheyer himself, right? Year 3. Is he the rightful heir? We all seem to accept it. I think in this era of like transfer portal and NIL, you can really craft whatever team you want. Is he the right guy to craft it? So I'd say get us back to 1 seed glory, none of these 4 seeds consistently. I'd be impressed.
I mean, to me, he proved it year 1. Year 1 when he took over, just going into the season of like new coach, not Coach K. This guy is like, I guess our age, right? Like 39, 40. Started off in the ACC, was it like 1-4, like bad.
Yeah.
Ends up winning the ACC, second round or something in the tournament, and you were like, I'm really happy. Like this could have been really shitty. He seems good enough as a coach. And he's got himself as one of the best recruiters, and he stole that other recruiter from Kentucky, right?
Sure.
Took him. Okay, I'm good with it. And him and I are also Eskimo bros, so I do think right. Thank you.
We have to figure out. Maybe we'll do after the pod. We'll get a guess who it is. I think that's the floor, though. And I guess you're right. He's got to ease into it. But my point is, give him grace in year 1. Year 3, I don't want 4 seeds. I don't know. Maybe
Dre,
maybe it's cocky. Yeah,
I'm with you. I've been very much positive on what he's done so far, the transition, etc. But at a certain point, you've got to start producing. And like we've been saying, Cooper Flagg's not just like your run-of-the-mill top recruit in the country. They're saying he could be generational. So now it's time to pull all these pieces together and make a Final Four run.
Yeah. Let's see. Before we get into any players we missed, let's take a break for our buddy Rodrigo. Let's answer his season preview questions that he always asks. Right? Who's the best freshman? Who's the 3-point shooter on the team? And who would pull the most girls at shooters? So I took a first stab. I went Flagg, best freshman, 3-point shooter, Knipple. Is Flagg pulling the most girls at shooters, or is it someone else? James, you're shaking your head.
No, I did a little deep dive on the roster.
You went deep dive for Rod.
Oh yeah, okay. It's Scion, no question. Scion
that's a little sketchy, no question. Go ahead though.
Okay, Scion is a 5th-year senior. All right, he's jacked. He has the best hair on the team. And where did he come from? He came from Tulane. For the last 4 years, he's been in New Orleans. Shooter's is fish in a barrel with this guy. Like this is an easy call.
James, I had the same exact take. He's also got a big, nice smile.
I know. It's like the easiest thing.
I
think Flagg is too popular. Like he's too popular or too like well known. Like I would bet it's probably like kind of a pain in the ass sometimes for him going out, whereas Cyan can more go under the radar and just have a good time.
We should do a whole episode just on this question.
You think fifth year senior going to Shooter? I disagree with your.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going. Yeah, go ahead. Amin.
Qualification of shooting fish in a barrel. You're at Duke and you're on the basketball team. You don't have a problem getting any. It's just who gets the most. I think it's Chubby Redick all the way. Like one point you made is the approachability. I mean, I dare bring back the Brady Quinn Matt Leinart debate to this topic to really get into the needs of it. But I think Chubby Redick's just going to have hopefully one of the greatest basketball years, but one of the greatest years of his life. Like I'm looking forward to it for him.
I'm excited for this season. That was the question that opened it up. So in terms of like doing a little bit deeper on the preview, we talked about a few of the players. Is there any player any of you guys want to kind of dive into a bit more and just? I was kind of thinking like key player, right? If this player outperforms by a certain percentage, we win the title. He underperforms, we get bounced early. Who do you guys think is key?
I can start. I mean, I already kind of went through them all walk, so I'll pick someone else. And I don't know, did I just hear this from Amin? Proctor, to me, is the key.
Yeah,
junior.
Agreed.
Freshman year down the stretch, he had skipped a year. He skipped a senior year of high school, so he was a young freshman. Down the stretch on that Final Four run, he was awesome. He was playing great, playing confident, playing really good defense. He was probably not even as good last year than he was during that stretch run. He's our experience on the team, continuity, and ball handlers always make a huge difference in March. So he's the key to me, and I hope he gets better from last year.
I mean, he's 50% from 3-point range right now, and that's with much higher volume than 2 years past. Like if he can even remotely keep that up, and then let the freshmen just kind of screw up and do what they're going to do, I think everyone else is in trouble.
Well, and there should be a lot more space for him than there has been the last couple of years. With Flagg, with Knipple, with Malawak rolling and dunking, there's going to be a lot more space this year.
Go ahead, James. Yeah. No, go ahead.
When I was, looking at the videos of kind of what the team has looked like this year and what the offense is running, it's a lot of Flagg and Con, but I think at heart they're both scorers. And so when you have a higher pressure defense situation, that third ball handler matters a lot more. And so I think that has to be Proctor. And is he good enough to kind of be that connective piece of the offense when Flagg and Con have it going, but also that outlet who can win a game for you against the really good teams? If they can slow down Flagg and Con, you need that third guy. I kind of go back to if you think of when we won back in 09-10, Baylor was supposed to beat us. I think it was like the Elite Eight or Final Four. And like Nolan Smith had this huge game, right? And he was the third guy after Singler and Scheyer. And I think that's like the moment where you have to have a good third player when the top two are maybe struggling a little bit or getting slowed down. You have to have another way to win. And if he's not the guy, then really it puts a lot of pressure on those top two.
Yeah, what's crazy about Proctor, I remember we entered last year, he was like on NBA Draft.net, number 2 pick overall. Like it was a weak draft, but the scouts loved him after the first year. I like that you guys brought him up because I feel like last year the team wasn't a good fit for him. Like the team wasn't as good as, I don't know, Filipowski clogged things up. He had McCain. McCain was really good. We all, I think, agree with that. Another shooter. Maybe this is the year, right? Proctor a little more off ball, a little more shooter, 50%. I'd like that from 3.
You know what player I don't have any recollection of from last year? And this is partly like what's been the change in theme of, do I still have my feelings hurt if Duke loses a random game? Yeah, but I really don't care until March. Like, did they win the ACC? Oh, well, doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. So like, your point of like 4 seed or 2 seed doesn't really move me. Point being, I don't remember Caleb Foster at all.
He got injured towards the end of the year, so
Oh, is that what it was?
he was coming on. He had gained a starting role. I think Proctor might have been
Yeah.
coming off the bench. I remember the game in New York. Rob, did you come down for the game in New York? The
I
Baylor
didn't make
game?
it last
No,
year.
no.
No.
So a few of the other guys came. He started. He was playing well. That was a big loss for him when he got injured. He got injured like in like February.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he's another guy that we've been penciling him in. It's kind of like the returning point guard, really. Need him, right? Not a other ton of ball handlers on
I have a
team.
question for the group. Why is Jeremy Roach not on our team?
Scheyer probably told him that he wasn't going to start or
He was
wasn't
a
going to play as much.
senior captain last year, and he had a 5th year of eligibility from
Yeah.
COVID, and he's not. I just find that story completely bizarre.
Well,
Like in
James,
very-
look at the roster. Where would he have? Would you
We
start
don't
him?
have a point guard.
He wouldn't have started. No way.
He was playing. I think Foster. I think they think Foster's better.
Yeah.
And this is the hard reality of like
Yeah,
today's college basketball.
it's just weird.
I mean, we'll see if is he starting on Baylor. I imagine he's getting.
He's starting on Baylor.
It was Roach that had that game against Michigan State. What, as a freshman in the tournament?
His sophomore year. His freshman year was horrible, right?
His sophomore year.
DJ Stewart, yeah.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that game, he wouldn't have been he would have developed into a bona fide starter.
Yeah.
Like, why is none of the team this year? Probably a little bit of regression back to he'd be a 5th year senior not starting.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's brutal. Who else haven't we touched on? I mean, on the bench, the transfers, I think we talked about Brown a little bit. They liked him from Syracuse. Gillis, right? They liked from Purdue. He played next to Zach Edey. I think Connecticut left him open in the title game last year. I don't think he came through. So not a great sign, but depth, experience. I don't know much about any of the other freshmen besides the 3 we've mentioned. Evans, Harris. I don't even know the name of the other guy, but talent on the roster. Any other players you guys wanted to double click on? Proctor's kind of the key for all of us, it seems like.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a quick schedule look ahead, and then we'll do predictions and we'll wrap. So, schedule look ahead, fun non-conference, right? We got Kentucky tomorrow night. Well, I guess this will release Tuesday, so we'll Kentucky tonight. Then we go at Arizona on the 22nd, Friday in November. Then Kansas in Vegas on the 26th.
Ooh.
And then we host. Yeah, Amin, you're gonna make a run up to there?
I was thinking about making a run to that Auburn game.
Well, Auburn and Cameron's
Durham.
the challenge, December 4th. Hopefully, I wrote a great joke. Hopefully, their guys can handle another plane flight to that game. What a wild story. But then after that, it's crickets, right? The final 23 games, probably mostly ACC games, only 2 ranked teams. So get your fix in now. Anything exciting? Anything schedule, or is it just ACC? Right? We're playing Stanford. We're playing Cal now.
Yeah, those teams are terrible. Well, will this year be the first year we potentially beat Caleb Love? Is that Arizona now?
God, that's true.
You're just talking about a guy who's just had Duke's number wherever he goes.
Yeah. You guys saw it firsthand.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, we did.
What is he in his 7th year now? Is he in who's the guy? RJ Davis is back also. They're like 7-year guys?
No, there's no way RJ Davis is still playing.
Yeah. UNC.
Good for him.
Good for he's probably making decent bank. But season predictions, let's get to it. So I want your season-long predictions. Doesn't have to be record. I just at least want to know what seed in the tournament, how far they go. Who wants to kick us off? Amin, kick us off.
I think after sweeping this early gauntlet from that point,
Sweeping
the gauntlet, Kentucky, Arizona, Kansas. I think we'll be from that point on wire to wire number 1 seed, have a UConn run in the tournament, and just freaking celebrate.
Are we gonna lose a game all year?
I mean, probably not the way you put it. I didn't think about that. But probably not.
Dude, I love it. I should have had you go last.
Yeah, geez.
James, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I'll be the wet blanket. No,
Shocker.
I think yeah, of course, shocker. I mean, I think it'll be a good year. I think we're going to be second in the ACC, and I think like Elite Eight and out. I think that not being sure about the third guy, like it's just like it's a solid group, but I think there's a pretty big drop off after the second, and not like completely confident that anyone's really going to step up. So Elite Eight, no.
Man, all right, Rob.
I am more on the Amin side than James side, so I think it's gonna be. Honestly, I'd probably pick them for a 2 seed, except for the ACC is going to be weak. So I see us racking up a bunch of wins. And I think there's the right mix, and team comes together, and Scheyer shows what he can do. Make a very deep run. So I don't know if we'll win the title or not. But
come on, it's a prediction show.
All right, we win the title.
All right.
You know, when we were at school, we would have definitely like put priority on predicting the outcome of the ACC standing and the ACC tournament. And like, I feel like we generally don't give a shit anymore. At least I don't. Right?
No. I have a note. So my prediction: I have no regular season title, but I have an ACC 20 championship. Right, the team gets together late. Yep. I have an NCAA 1 seed. I have a Final Four. I don't have this going further. Right. I mean, my thing is. I think chemistry. I think the one and done is and with the transfers is tough. Like I think in basketball, you got to play with the guys a lot, get those hours logged together. But I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love for Rob and Amin to be right. That'd be nice.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I think Proctor's the type of guy as we spoke about that can be a veteran that can stabilize a new team. That some of the one and done championship teams have had. And then I think when you have seems like Cooper Flagg is pretty selfless, pretty focused on winning. And when you have your star, like the guy, we said he's going to be too mobbed to go to shooters. When that guy is pretty understated and is just focused on winning, I think that sets you up with a chance versus some of the other one and dones and teams that are coming together for the first time.
Should be a formula. Like when the shooters guy is also not the best player, Duke is like 75% wins the title that year. Like we should look at that.
Get Rod on a heat map for that.
Yeah. They needed that analysis. Boys, thank you. Love it. We gotta get back together maybe during the year, maybe a little closer to March. See how we did in these predictions.
I'll do a live show from Vegas with you.
I'd love to. Can I be in Vegas too?
That was the point of doing the live show.
I thought you'd be in Vegas and we'd be live like on the thing.
Hey, Andre.
Is Vegas? Wait, is that the Final Four this year?
No, I was talking about Kansas. I think we're playing Kansas.
Oh yeah, Kansas November 26th.
I know. I think I'm actually
forget Thanksgiving. Yeah,
I think I'm actually unavailable. Never mind.
Well, we got to get to Cameron again. We got to get to Durham.
We were way overdue for that.
Fantasy football draft in February for next year.
Do you think Cameron's still open for pickup games? Probably not.
Calling some favors. Dre, we do pretty well watching tournament games together. So make your way up come March.
Dude, we've seen titles. All right, fellas. Rob, James, Amin, thank you, boys. Thanks for being on Cleats by Dre. We'll talk to you later.
When do I get my royalty check?
That'll come next week. You got it.
Just keep checking the mail, Amin. All right. Thanks, Dre.
Love you guys. All right, that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the college basketball season. If you're into these longer format panels about college sports, you like football, go back, check out my Notre Dame season preview and midseason update with my fellow alumni there. If you're into college sports, I did an episode, bringing stability, more on NIL and transfers, the whole Matthew Sluka situation. Go find that episode and just stay tuned. A lot more to come. Okay, take care. Have a good week, everybody.